Oh
God.
God, it's been
Oh my
so
God, you're in the car?
always.
I would have just jumped in the front seat of my car had I known. Wow.
I mean, your background looks pretty epic. So,
Oh my
Thank
gosh, the
you.
last time we saw you, we were in a hotel room.
I know. And you had that, is it Ghani dress on that I was coveting? Ganni.
Right.
good memory.
Mhm.
Wow.
And was that right before the pandemic?
Yes. We had to fly home from there. Like we did Tamron Hall, and then it had shut down. The NBA had canceled, like everything just.
Yeah, that was the week. You're right. I thought so.
Crazy.
It was insane. We all were like, what's this thing? What's happening? And then.
God, can you believe we're in the third fucking school year of this?
No.
I mean, the good news is that it feels like I don't think about it anymore. Like I don't think about when things are going to go back to normal. Now it's just living within what is now our normal. Does that make sense? It's not like when are we
and
going
I'm
back?
so proud of you two that you're getting back out on the road. I'm hoping I'm going to either catch like your Burlington date or your Medford date or one of the ones when you're out here on the East Coast.
Where
are you right now? Because you went somewhere for the pandemic.
Yeah, so I'm outside of Boston right now where, in the house that we raised our kids in for the last 23 years, but we bought my in-laws house in Southern Vermont and our son is going to high school up there. So as we're renovating it, I'm mostly down here so I can work, but Chris and Oak are up in Southern Vermont. So he can go to high school and I kind of go back and forth.
So many questions, but I mean, I guess those are personal things.
Whatever. You know me. I'm just like you. If you ask the question, be ready for the answer, baby.
Everyone loved our first podcast and with you, and everyone, I think it's still like something that we still make, remind people to go listen to when they're struggling. It hit such a chord. So now that you've come out with another book, and Nat has
you're gonna shit when you this is unbelievable. Thought this is unbelievable. I literally, so the 5-second rule I wrote 5 years ago. I have not been able to write another book due to my dyslexia and due to just ADHD and being way too busy. And the other thing is, I think that especially creative ideas, they have a life of their own, and the high five habit was not ready to be born until this moment.
I totally feel that.
The fact that you just said that, we just did a podcast on how our team members would probably call us insane. And most of it is probably because of how we operate every day with ADHD, but don't medicate because we're too afraid of what that might do to creativity. You know what I mean? But the shrapnel we leave is quite insane. We've come to realize.
She was referencing, because I used to work for a female entrepreneur that was all over the place, and it was so crazy working for her. I learned so much, but she was crazy, but she was kind. And I hope that's what our team members would say about working with us. And I would assume maybe some people that are around you would kind of say you're a little all over the place too.
Oh, totally all over the place. And I also think that part of it is social media. Social media is open 24/7, and you got to be really careful because when you're creating content, especially when, it's funny that we're having this conversation, because I said to my team this morning on our morning call that, we're 2 weeks away from launching this book. And I think that this is going to be a global phenomenon. I really do. And it's not about a book. The conversation that I am having and this tool, the high five habit, is so profound. It's so fundamental. The science is so incredible. And I think it's everything. And I think it's what the world needs right now. It needs a simple tool that helps people support, celebrate, and empower themselves, especially when life feels really hard. And I said to my team, I'm going to say this out loud because I want you to hold me accountable. I like a lot of women in particular, have lived my entire life struggling with anxiety, and I have had a dysregulated nervous system, which basically means that I have always felt in my body like I'm on edge. I have always been waiting for the next shoe to drop. I am like a tripwire ready to snap at somebody. And I think I've always been in that mode. And I can track it all the way back to childhood trauma that happened in the 4th grade. I think we talked about it in the first podcast that we did together, and I write about it in the High Five Habit. But I've been doing all of this work around my nervous system and settling my nervous system and having what I call body confidence, which is not being confident about the way you look. It's being comfortable in your own skin. It's feeling grounded inside yourself. And so I said to my team,
Wow.
as the world starts to talk about this book, and we've had almost 70 podcast requests. I've never done a formal podcast tour. We're only just getting started now that Today's Show is involved. Dr. Oz is now doing half of a show on this concept and bringing in neuroscientists to talk about the profound science. And I said to them, as the world gets busier and as it feels like it's getting bigger and bigger, I am committed to that external energy and stress not triggering me to have a corresponding rise in external stress and external, like, kind of being amped. And
Mel,
I think
is that
yes.
like the fight or flight that people
Yes.
are constantly so they're constantly in a fight or flight due to the world bombarding them constantly right now?
It is impossible for you after the last 18 months to not feel on edge right now. And it would be weird if your resting state weren't fight or flight. And it's why you feel emotionally drained. It's why you find yourself crying and you can't understand why. It's why you feel so exhausted. It's why you, if one thing goes wrong in the day, that the teacher's got COVID and now your kid can't go in, it feels like I just got to throw in I can't handle this anymore. And your nervous system has done the equivalent of you sitting in your car in park and flooring the gas.
Right.
It's just been revved for 18 months. And so one of the tools in this book is, I call it high-fiving your heart. And you take your hands and you put it on your heart. And I got big mitts, so I don't even do this. Yeah.
Does
put your
it matter?
hands like, doesn't matter where you can grab your boob, you can do whatever,
Yeah.
but just press right here on your chest. And this works with your kids too. Now we're going to take a deep breath. And then you're going to say these 3 sentences. I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Safe.
I'm okay.
Yep.
I'm
safe. I'm loved.
I'm loved.
Now say those 3 sentences again, you two.
I'm okay. I'm safe. I am loved.
What do you feel?
I feel more relaxed. But Mel, what if some people don't feel like they're loved? Who are they loved from?
Themselves. So here's the thing. If you can say those things and you can hear it, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. If you can think it and you can hear it in your mind, in this moment, it's true. We had a woman write to us from a domestic violence shelter. And she said, I've had tremendous childhood trauma. I've been in a severely abusive relationship. I have just escaped. I'm starting over. I have nothing. I have a long road ahead. But this simple tool of the high five habit of high-fiving my reflection in the mirror every morning and high-fiving my heart every day as a way to start my day grounded back in my body and settling my nervous system is telling me something important. I still have myself. I can have my own back.
Right.
And the reason why this high five to your heart works is because of science. See, when you press right here, you're pressing against what's called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a treasure in your body, and it runs from your seat all the way through every major organ and your vocal cords into the top of your head. And when you press on it like this and you say those words, what happens is the vagus nerve is basically like an on-off switch. And it's the on-off switch between your 2 nervous systems. Your one nervous system is your fight or flight nervous system. We call
Mhm.
that the sympathetic nervous system. The other nervous system, which is your calm, grounded, resting nervous system, which is where we want you to start every day, that is called the parasympathetic nervous system. When you simply put your hands here and press against the vagus nerve and you say those 3 sentences, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved, over and over and over again until you feel grounded, you are turning
So
off the nervous system that is stressed out and turning on the nervous system that helps you stay grounded as you go through your day, as you
do you
support your
have to
family.
say it out loud, or
Nope.
could your kids do it, like, if they're having a panic attack? I
Yeah.
feel like that would help too, like
Yeah,
to
absolutely. Absolutely. And get them to do it. And then you can put your hands on them and one on their back so that you've got them, and have them practice it, because now you're teaching them a skill they can use anywhere at any time that they feel that rush of anxiety that a lot of people feel. And so, what is so exciting about this book, and you said it, what if you feel like you've got nobody? You're alone, you're a single mom, you've gotten divorced from some scumbag who's now dating the babysitter, like life is just imploded, you're not where you're meant to be, you literally feel like you fucked it all up, you're overwhelmed, you're beating yourself up, you need the high five habit. And so let me explain how this thing works, because on the surface, the high five habit, in terms of high fiving yourself in the mirror every morning, sounds so cheesy
Right.
that I don't want you to dismiss the extraordinary, life-changing, profound science here, and the chance that you've got to fundamentally change how you see yourself. I am so passionate about this.
Mm.
This has been the single biggest breakthrough I've ever had in my entire life. And so I'm going to explain what happened. So, we all have, literally, like a couple weeks after I saw you guys, the world shuts down. And we all have that moment. And this is not a pandemic book at all. But the way I discovered the high five habit was during a moment in the pandemic, about 3 weeks after you and I saw each other. So within those 3 weeks of you and I taping that first interview that we did, my show gets canceled. I get fired from my dream job. And so my immediate reaction when they find COVID-19 at CBS Broadcast Center and they cancel the show, boom, I'm fired from the dream job of hosting my own daytime talk show. I immediately have this feeling, are you fucking kidding me? I am 51 fucking years ago old, and I have to reinvent my life again? Seriously?
Mel, you know what's ironic as you say that? We had a deal with a major network on that exact same premise, and COVID hit and the contract got ripped up, and everyone that was celebrating was like, sorry, you're out, SOL. And like what you are. And I think everyone has a moment where they were like, I was there and it got taken away from me because of the world.
Completely. And then my publisher canceled the contract for a book that I had been working on, not this book. And they should have canceled it because I was a year late in delivering a manuscript, but still they wanted money back that I had already spent.
Oh, God.
And then every single speech that I had booked for a year started boom, 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 canceling. And I found myself in this free fall. And, look, like my origin story, as everybody knows from listening to the first podcast, is 13 years ago, my husband and I were nearly $1 million in debt, and I was drinking myself into the ground because I was paralyzed. So this moment was triggering all those old fears. I'm about to lose everything again. Now, on top of it, there were none of these bailout loans for small businesses. So I'm like, how the fuck am I going to make payroll? How am I going to take care of the 11 people and families that work for me? And then on top of that, and everybody that listens to you can understand this, my kids were in crisis. College had imploded. They were home. They were grieving. They were pissed off. They were frustrated. They were sad. There was a tsunami of emotions. And so for the first 3 weeks, and were there blessings from COVID? Of course. I'll never get that time again with our adult kids, ever. It was a huge blessing in so many ways. Did it change my business? Of course. I never would have discovered the high five habit. But that said, those first few weeks was horrendous. I don't think I changed out of my pajamas. I started drinking Bloody Marys at 11 o'clock in the morning. We did nothing but watch Harry Potter and Glee episodes, like as a family, for 3 weeks straight. And so one morning I wake up and I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. And you may feel this right now listening to us. You may feel like, I can't do another school year like this. I can't work from home and have the kids under my feet. I can't handle one more thing. That's how I felt that morning. And so I used the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I rolled out of bed, and then I made my bed. And that morning I made it so I wouldn't crawl back into it.
Right.
And I dragged myself to the bathroom, and I'm standing there in my underwear and I'm brushing my teeth. And I catch my reflection in the mirror. And I think, oh my God, you look like hell. And then I started to pick myself apart, the dark circles under my eyes, the gray hair coming in, how saggy my neck had gotten. One boob is hanging lower than the other. And then, of course, once you start going down that road, your whole attitude sucks. And then I'm like beating myself up. I'm like, why did I get up so late? And I got 8 minutes for my first Zoom. How the hell am I going to get ready in time? And the dog's sitting at my feet and he still needs to be rocked. And I hadn't responded to that text. And I start ticking off all the things I hadn't done and all the things that I was overwhelmed by. And as I saw the woman staring back at me in the mirror, I actually felt sad for her. Now, here's the interesting thing. If either one of you had walked into my bathroom that morning, I would have been able to spin on a dime and say, Kat, Nat, I know it's not fair that they canceled your show. I know you have worked so hard. You don't deserve this. I know this is overwhelming, but if anybody can handle it, you can. I would have been able to give you what you needed to feel your spirit lift. But standing there without a bra on and, not even with a cup of coffee yet, I couldn't think of a fucking thing to say to myself. And besides, I don't think I would have believed it because the pep talk wouldn't have matched how I actually felt, which was defeated. And I don't know what came over me because it sounds so pathetic. But standing there in my underwear, I literally raised my hand and high-fived the woman I saw in the mirror because she needed it. And here's the thing. Lightning didn't strike. My whole life didn't change in that moment, but something shifted. I felt my shoulders drop. I felt my chin lift. I actually laughed because it's so stupid. You're high-fiving yourself in the mirror. And my mood shifted. And I kind of felt like, okay, now, come on. You got this, Mel. And I sent myself into the day feeling a little better. Now, it was the second morning where things really shifted. So I wake up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I get out of bed. I make my bed and I start walking to the bathroom. And this is where things get profound, you two. And, especially for our daughters, this is profound. As I started walking to the bathroom, I had this experience that I've never had in my entire life. And it's this. You know how, like, when you're walking to meet a friend and you're about to walk into a cafe and you're about to see somebody you really like, how do you feel?
Excited.
Yeah, excited. I actually felt that about seeing myself.
Wow.
In the 53 years that I've been alive, I don't think I've ever been excited to see the human being, Mel Robbins. I've been excited to see what an outfit might look like, or excited to see what my eyeshadow color might look like. But to see me, the human being, never. Because I have a habit, and so does everybody on the planet, of dreading seeing myself, of standing before the mirror and criticizing myself, hating on myself, or ignoring myself. And so that second morning, as I finished brushing my teeth, and when you practice this, I want you to practice it right after you brush your teeth, because when you stack a new habit with one that you already do, it's easier for your brain to learn it. And so when you put your toothbrush down, I want you to take a moment and just be with yourself, because you never do this and it's uncomfortable. because you're used to ignoring yourself. So many women, 91% of women, do not like how they look. And so many women have written to me about the fact that whether it's body dysmorphia or just a lifetime of criticism, they can't even look at themselves in the mirror. And so be with yourself for a second. And then I want you to do something. I want you to look at the human being, not the body, the human being that's staring there, that has been dying for you to wake up and realize she's there. And she needs your support, and she needs your love, and she needs you to validate her existence. And I want you to ask yourself, how do I need to show up today for the woman I see in the mirror? How can I support her? Because especially as mothers, all we're thinking about is what we need to do for everybody else. And then we feel last on our list because we're waiting for somebody to magically show up and take care of us, and nobody's coming. And so you need to learn how to take care of yourself. Like, we all know we got to put our oxygen mask on. What the fuck does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means being able to stand in the mirror every single morning and to see yourself and be with yourself and be able to celebrate and support yourself no matter where you are in your life and no matter how you feel. And so as you think about, how can I show up for this woman today? Then you're going to raise your hand and you're going to high five yourself. And I want to unpack this because there's a couple things that you will feel for sure when you try this. So one of two things happens for absolutely every human being that tries this. So either you will feel this huge release and you'll start crying because you'll realize you've actually never done this for yourself. And you've been waiting to reconnect with the human being inside of you. Or you're going to feel tremendous resistance to doing it. And so the resistance is so fucking sad. And you need to unpack it for yourself, because this is the bullshit that is starting to happen to our kids at the ages that your kids are. This resistance, this rejection of self, this I'm not good enough, I don't belong, I don't fit in. If only I were taller, shorter, skinnier, fatter, my hair were less kinky, my skin were lighter, darker. All of the sorting hat things that we do to ourselves when we start school to see where we fit in and where we don't fit in. And it's all a mechanism to try to protect you from not being rejected from other people. But instead, you end up having a dialogue that's all about rejecting yourself. And so the resistance is so fucking sad, because what it actually is, if you stand before yourself in the mirror as an adult woman, is you have dragged your entire life with you to that moment. And it stands between you and the human being that you see in the mirror. Every abuse, every trauma you've experienced, every heartbreak, every disappointment, all of the things that people have said to you, you accumulate that as evidence that says that person that I see is damaged or not worthy or broken or whatever it is that you say to yourself or believe about yourself. And all the things that you regret that you've done, whether you've cheated or done drugs or lied or you made a huge mistake, or like whatever it is that you beat yourself up for, that you would easily forgive Kat or Nat or me for, but you cannot and will not forgive yourself for. That's the resistance. That right there is the resistance. And so when you raise your hand to high five yourself, it's an act of defiance to a lifetime of criticizing and rejecting yourself. That's what's happening. And here's what I want you to know, which is freaking unbelievable. So as this started working in my life and I started to realize, oh my God, I have just stumbled into yet another stupid, cheesy tool that is changing my life. Why is this working? The research here is extraordinary, because the good news is your mind and your nervous system and your soul are hardwired, already ready to have the high five habit work. It'll work for your kids. It'll work for senior citizens. It'll work for absolutely anybody that sees this because of science. So first, even though it's weird because it's something that you've never done before, even though you might resist it, I want you to do this for 5 days in a row. Super important that you do it for at least 5 days in a row to push through the resistance and the weirdness so that it becomes something that you're not resisting. That's number one. Number two, let's talk about a high five. So cat and Nat, when you think about times where you've either given your kids a high five or somebody's given you a high five or you've given somebody else a high five, what does a high five mean?
They go.
Congratulations.
You're a rock star.
Totally. A high five means I see you, I love you, I celebrate you, we got this. If you give it to your kid when their attitude's going down, it's literally like, shake it off now. I know this is tough, but come on, kid, you got this. It literally is celebration, joy, empowerment, togetherness, partnership, trust, encouragement, all in a simple gesture. Here's the good news. Since you've been doing this and receiving this gesture of a high five your entire life, all of that positive programming associated with it, it's already programmed into your brain.
Right.
So while you raise your hand and you do it to your own reflection, your brain recognizes the gesture. It silences the critic. You can't think a negative thought and do this. Your brain won't allow it. You can feel weird. You can feel the resistance, but you can't think you fucking suck. You're not good enough. You've screwed up your life. You can't do it. You don't even have to say anything because the gesture alone triggers your brain to go, oh, I believe in you. I feel you. I see you. I got you. Let's go. It already knows what it means. And it starts to silence the default criticism that runs on your brain in autopilot and reprogram in encouragement, celebration, and empowerment with your own reflection. And there's even more. I talked to Dr. Daniel Amen, who's the world's leading expert on the brain. He went crazy about this thing. He basically said, Mel, do you know why this works? I'm like, no, tell me why it works. He said, first of all, one of the reasons why you feel a little bit more energized when you do this over and over and over again is because your nervous system understands the gesture. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, think about it. When you wave hello, what are you doing? You're raising your hand. When you hug somebody, what are you doing? You're raising your hand. When you pat somebody on the back, you're raising your hand. When you high five somebody, you're raising your hand. When you cross the finish line, you raise your hands. Doing this repeatedly with your own reflection as your brain is having all these positive subconscious thoughts, your nervous system goes, oh yeah, that's right, celebration. So you start to feel that jolt and that energy within yourself the more you do this. The second thing that happens is you feel your mood boost, or if it's super heavy, you feel it lighten. Why? Well, because when you receive a high five from somebody else, your brain gives you a drip of dopamine, the chemical that's the feel-good happy chemical. When you do it to yourself, the same thing happens. Is this not nuts?
It is. I think it's I think it's nice for people, not nice is the wrong word. I think it's great that people have a tool, like an actionable item, especially coming out of like such an intense time when it feels like everything's out of control. And I believe small steps lead to larger steps. And I mean, I do know when we say this, a lot of people wake up and check social media and they compare themselves, the minute they open their eyes to what they haven't done or what they look like, or, who they're not. And I know Instagram just came out with a study of how damaging they actually know the platform to be, especially to young, to 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds who are on the platform. And I know that translates to everybody because we're not immune just as adults to feelings of insecurity. So I think that having something to wake up and feel, like you're in control of your day, and it's like a reminder to start your day in a way rather than waking up with being like, oh, here we go again.
And also waiting for other people to judge you when really all that should matter is the core. The first thing that is there is that you accept yourself and you're there for yourself. In this book, you explain the high five habit. What else is it in the book that people will be able to, is it like your stories?
Oh my God. It's like, I don't even know how to describe what's in this book, because the high five habit's just the beginning. You then learn about how to use your brain to work for you. You learn about the nervous system.
What about the secreting?
So there's so many different stories that we could ask. We're like so obsessed with like the manifesting.
We need
and stuff.
the manifesting.
So in here, there's a picture of you in your kitchen, and it says that this story will give us goosebumps and it'll teach us the proper way to manifest using science. Oh, this is podcast, I can't show them the
Yeah,
picture
but
of
there's
this.
videos that they can see. But because
Yes.
we on our platform really believe in manifesting. We talk about manifesting with zero science behind it, other than just dreams turning. Yeah. No, I know, Mel, turning into like.
And I just feel like our life, like everything that we have done, we have like randomly just put out in there, and then eventually, of course, there's lots that comes in between. But what we celebrate is when the things that we really kind of put out there actually come to life. So
Right.
tell us about your perspective on all this.
Well, I 1,000% believe in manifesting, but a lot of us are doing manifesting wrong, where you create a vision board about the big vision.
Mhm.
And what research shows is that simply having the beach house or the marathon finish line on your vision board is actually demotivating. Because what starts to happen for people is you see the thing that you want and you start to feel further and further and further away from it. And so, yes, you should have big dreams. And yes, you should write them down every day. And yes, you should do that because you have a filter in your brain that I'm teaching you to use and to program that will change in real time based on what you tell it is important. But the most important part of manifesting is activating something in your brain called the Zeigarnik effect, or the Zeigarnik effect. And that is for you to pick the beach house. So let's use a marathon, because a marathon is a really simple metaphor that everybody understands. Let's say you want to check off a bucket list item and you want to complete a marathon, which is 26.2 miles. Yes, put the finish line up. Yes, put the race bib up. Yes, put up all these things that show you what it feels like to accomplish the goal. But if you really want to get it done, also put on that board a photo of somebody running in the rain. Also put on that board a photo of an alarm clock that says 5:13 a.m.
The reality.
Also put up the reality. And then when you're manifesting and you're thinking about crossing that finish line, don't stay on the finish line. Think about what it's going to be like in February when you're on mile 11 on a training run and your earbuds run out and it starts to rain and you see yourself continuing to run. And when you manifest and visualize and allow yourself to feel that moment, the moment in between, the work that gets you there, you want a business of your own, manifest late nights, manifest the text where you say, sorry, I got to stay in and work on something, can't come to the party. Manifest you being told no, manifest the thing getting canceled, manifest picking up the phone again, because what you're doing is you're socializing your nervous system and your brain and your heart and your soul to do the work and to not stop when all of the things that happen that come into your way will eventually believe. And this is a way to cultivate something that I'm going to teach you how to do, which is to have a high five attitude. A high five attitude is simply the belief that if you continue to work hard, if you stay optimistic, if you give up your timeline through optimism, through hard work, you can figure it out. Things will work out how they're meant to work out. You can make a difference through your attitude and your effort on anything. That's a high five attitude, that no matter what's going on around you.
Do you believe in pessimism and optimistic personalities, or do you believe that pessimism and optimism are a choice? Like, because some people have come from a land of no, and is that learnt, or is that something you have to work towards, the land of knowers who
depends on the baby's first word.
I think it's an excellent question. And I believe optimism is a skill that everybody needs to practice and learn, because all the studies show that when you have a more positive outlook, and I believe in realistic optimism, that doesn't mean toxic positivity. It doesn't mean that you can put a nice brush stroke on really shitty problems that people face, from poverty to racism to discrimination to all these things that are real. You may be facing a death, you in your family, you may have a heartbreak, somebody may have cheated. Like, this shit is real.
Yeah.
But here's the difference that an optimistic or high five attitude has. When you become pessimistic, the obstacles magnify and your belief in yourself diminishes. When you start to, again, high five yourself in that mirror. And here's the thing, especially if you're going through a challenging time, you need it more than ever. Because when you raise the hand and you go to high five yourself, right when somebody just said, I'm sorry, I don't love you anymore. I've fallen in love with your best friend. The high five is also an acknowledgement that this fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I see you. I see that this sucks. And it's also in the same time saying, and you know what? You're going to be okay. I got you. I got your back. You know, we don't watch a marathon, right? If you're a spectator at a marathon, you don't stand at mile 8 and go, you're not done yet. I'm not cheering for you right now. Loser. Look at that split time for that half mile. Like you don't do that. You freaking high five and cheer for the runners every step of the way because it's what keeps them going. You see, we have bought into this lie that you got to hit the number on the scale before you're going to celebrate yourself. You have to have the money in the bank account. You have to have the right relationship. You got to be where you're supposed to be and drive the right car and have the right house and have the right friend group before you will celebrate yourself. I'm here to tell you it's the opposite.
Right.
You actually need to show up every day and give yourself the support. If you can drag your ass out of bed after these last 18 months and you're still breathing and you're still trying to do a little bit better, you not only deserve a high five, you need one. And one more thing about our kids, we can bolster our kids all you want. You want to know, there's so much too in this book about parenting, because I've got a ton of stories about parenting mistakes I've made, ways I've like plummeted my kids' esteem, things that are heartbreaking, like chapter, as I was writing this book, chapter 4, I get a text from one of our daughters. How do I not feel like the ugliest girl at the bar every time I go out? You want to know something as a mom? I can't change that. Only she can. If I stand in front of the mirror and say, but you're beautiful, but you're loyal, but you're an amazing human being, but you're funny, but you're this, and you know, you will meet somebody, you just haven't met the right, she can't even hear it because it's not what she says to herself. Mm-hmm. So the reason why you have to make this a habit to stand before yourself, the human being, and see the human being in that body and recognize that you're sad, or recognize that you're beating yourself up, or recognize that you're not where you need to be. And then raise your hand and say, I hear it. And you know what? I still love you. I still support you. I'm still here for you. Only she can change that for herself.
Yeah.
I can provide tools. I can provide a nutritionist.
Totally.
I can provide a psychologist, but your children and you, they got to do the work themselves. And so this
Mel,
is a tool that will help them do it.
There's something that happens between, you know, young children, because I have a 5-year-old who can't look in the mirror, or 6-year-old who can't see herself, right? Because she's not tall enough to look in all the mirrors. And so she's not looking at herself constantly. And I would say all of our kids when they were younger just love themselves so much, right? They think they're beautiful and strong and
best singers, best dancers.
Yeah, like my hair is amazing, like I am beautiful. And there's something that happens with comparisons when they begin to, although she's obsessed with her older sister, but there's this thing that they have this confidence. And somehow if we can think about that as adults, that, you know, we have, at one point we were madly in love with ourselves, because that's what young children do, or they're madly in love with themselves, and then you lose it. So you had it, and then something happened for you to begin to lose it. So you can be inspired by the children around us, because that person hasn't changed. That person has just been told to not love themselves like that child has loved them. So it's going back to that original, like, I mean, there's so much beauty in that toddler, that 5-year-old who walks down in their tutu, and everyone's looking at them and they're like, look at me, you know, and we stop saying that. We say, don't look at me. And there's a shift.
You're exactly right. Well, you want to know the good news? The good news is all that is wired into your DNA.
Yes.
Life made you doubt it. And so this is a way to get back to who you really are. And that doesn't mean you're arrogant. It doesn't mean that you're selfish. It means that of every human being on the planet, you realize you're the one person you go through life with, and that your relationship with yourself is the foundation of every relationship that you have. Because if you don't love yourself, you will never believe that somebody else truly loves you, and you'll continue to sabotage that relationship. If you
And
are insecure with the person you see in the mirror, you will behave in insecure ways out in the world. It starts
and
with you.
expect your relationships to fill that. I mean, I think a lot of I mean, obviously people have to read this book because I think it's going to help so many people, like you said. And we have been taking up so much of your time, but I want to ask one last question, which
Yeah.
is a lot of women, when we talk about manifesting or believing in themselves, their partner or spouse will be the first one to, kind of knock them down or be like, this is the dumb, like, what are you doing? This is so dumb. Or, when they begin to find themselves, it's a really nervous feeling for the
Yeah.
partner, and it can rock their relationship. Any advice? We did a kind of like a dream, what was it, like a live where people came in and they're like, I can't show my husband or my partner when we did the vision boarding. I could never show them because they would just like laugh at me for it. I'm too embarrassed to show them. I guess you just work on yourself, and you when your partner sees
Well, let me give you a
changing
perspective check, okay, on this, okay? First of all, it's super normal. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to end the relationship. It's super normal
Okay.
to have the people closest to you not cheer for you and not celebrate you. And there's a reason why. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. I think I write about this in the book. So there was a period of time after Chris's restaurants failed that he stopped drinking completely and started to get, himself whole again. And I remember very distinctly when that happened, I was cooking and I went to pour myself a glass of wine. And I noticed I felt self-conscious that I was about to have a big glass of wine and he was drinking water. And so I immediately did what your husbands and partners are doing. I was like, oh, come on, just have a glass of wine. Why do you need to be sober? Like I started sabotaging and undermining the changes he wanted to make in his life. Why? I'll tell you why. Because his changes made me confronted about what I was doing. And so Chris turned to me and he said, Mel, I don't want a glass of wine. If you want to have a glass of wine, great, have a glass of wine. And then he said this, nobody cares about what's in your cup except for you. So if you don't like what's in your cup, stop barking about what's in mine and focus on what should be in yours. And so keep in mind that any change that you're making is confronting to somebody who's not changing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You have got to keep showing up and cheering for yourself. And this is especially true for women because we've been socialized to believe that our worth is determined by whether or not somebody else approves or somebody else loves us. You got to be able to look in the mirror,
Yes.
see a human being that you love, and to see a human being whose choices make you proud. And if everybody else has a problem with that, they need to deal with that with their therapist. And the more that you do this, the more you'll be able to express boundaries, and the more you'll be able to make requests. And the stronger that you get, knowing that you have your own back and you're really confident in who you are, the more that your marriage will change because you're changing. And it's my hope that it changes for the better. But the fact of the matter is, as long as you are taking responsibility for your own happiness and your own sense of worth and your own sense of value as a human being, if that doesn't improve the relationship that you're in to show up as a better you're not in the right relationship.
I totally agree. And often it will bring the person up. It will help them to change too. Mel, where can everyone buy your book? When can they buy the book? How
right now? Buy it right now. Dear God, please buy it right now. Right now.
On
it's
Amazon.
Out everywhere.
Where?
You can buy it absolutely everywhere. You can get the audiobook in Canada, in the United States, all over the world on Audible. Also, there's a free 5-day challenge that we're doing that I would love everybody to take part in. It's called the High Five Challenge. It's 5 days. It's free. Give me your name and your email address. Go to highfivechallenge.com. And I do 5 days of coaching and the tools that you need to walk you through everything in the book. And here's the coolest part. There's hundreds of thousands of people who are doing it. And so they'll be cheering you on too. And you'll be getting high fives from them and videos from them. And so if you feel like you need a little boost, you need somebody to help you out right now, you'd like to have a little more energy, you're tired of feeling stuck and overwhelmed, this is free. I got your back. Highfivechallenge.com. I'll see you in it.
Oh my gosh, Mel, you're wonderful. It's such nice. It's so nice to see your face and hear
I love you too.
That not, you know, that the world, you're helping find our way back after the world cluster fucked us all up. I think this book is going to touch a lot of women in particular because they're our audience and we're here for them. So just truly thank you for hopping on and congratulations.
I love you. And I'll see you on your tour. I'll let you know which stop I can come to.
We'll DM you when we figure out where we are, when and where you are.
Fabulous. Let's do it. Let's do it, baby.
Bye, Mel.
I love you guys. Bye.